Good morning, my digital heathens of YouTube. J4D3 here, and we're drawing Snow White today. A full-figured Snow White. A little bit about the drawing first. I didn't use any outlines when I started doing her inking. I kept the pencils and didn't outline her with a fine liner. And I thought this was kind of a cool, experiment. But that was kind of neat because then it's more like a painting, right? There's no dark lines separating all the different colors of her clothing and so on. And then it's drawn in with number 2 pencil on Bristol board. And also alcohol-based markers, Copics, Twin Touch, Spectre Noir, stuff like that. Anyways, that's about the only interesting thing about the technique that I use while coloring this piece. Anyways, I decided to do that when I started coloring the apple, about forgoing the outlines. So, one of the things I want to talk about is my love for Disney. I've always loved Disneyland. I wanted to be a Disney animator forever, but I didn't have the patience to be an animator. To be an in-betweener, but if they even, do that anymore. But I really, growing up as a kid, I thought that would be the coolest job in the world. When I was 10 to 11, my parents moved me took me out of school, and we moved to Panama from Seattle, Washington. And I lived in Panama for several months, Panama City. And then we moved to a little town called Petasi, and then another area called Las Tablas. And while living down there, my parents were running like some kind of export business. I'm not sure if they were being drug lords at the time or if it was a legitimate venture. But anyways, so I lived down there for a while, but then it was time for me to go home. So they stayed in Panama, and I had to fly from Panama back to Seattle, where I was going to be staying with my grandmother and all my aunts. And on the flight back from Panama to Florida then I changed over to another flight, and I flew from Florida all the way to SeaTac. And the entire flight there, I sat next to a gentleman who was an animator for Disney, and we talked about what it was like being a Disney animator. And man, I fell in love with the idea. He's talking about he worked on Pinocchio. He worked on like everything from Snow White on, but he talked about working on Pinocchio and animating the water sections, because he got pulled in from being a storyboard artist into being into doing in between for some reason for a while, or he was helping other animators learn how to do better in betweens. And they was telling me stories about Walt Disney and what he was really like, and it was just, for me, it was like amazing to hear these, the stories of back in the day and what it would be like to be working on these just epic films that I loved so much as a kid. Or I was a kid then, but when he was talking about the problems they had with the animation studios and all the good friends he made and the jokes they'd play on each other and different things like that. So yeah, that was for probably till I was about 15. I wanted to be an animator for Disney, and then I discovered comic books, and I thought the payoff was a lot better, where I could draw comics and then reap the rewards of fame and fortune. But I eventually turned all that into being a industrial designer and designing scuba diving equipment, boots. So, it's funny how your life will take you in different directions, where you're in the, you wanted to aspire to be this thing that's a great, fantasy artist, or work on these epic dreamlike projects, like, a Snow White, or some modernly like The Incredibles or something like that. And then you just get kind of pulled away from your dreams because you need money. I did like my time as an industrial designer, though. I don't do that anymore. After doing that for 7 years, I started to hate art. So I quit drawing, and I quit my job as an industrial designer after doing a little bit of it for freelance. And for about, I don't know, maybe a year or so, I didn't paint or draw anything. I just didn't have it in me. It wasn't any fun anymore. And then I got a job working at the big airplane factory that I work at now. And after doing that kind of, mundane work for a while, I started drawing again and painting. But I like it a lot better. I like not having to be creative for a living. And I think it makes me a better artist now that I'm out of the field of really, creating for money. Not to say that I won't do that again. I'm working on several projects right now, comics and a couple short films, and I do these YouTube videos. But I feel a lot better not having to go punch a clock and design. I guess it all boils down to is punching a clock and designing stuff you really don't give a S about. Like dive boots. Anyways, we're just about to the end of this. Thank you a lot, my heathens, for taking the time to watch me draw plump Snow White and listen to me ramble about being an animator. So peace out. Like, share, subscribe.